How's it going, BDT fans? Thank you for tuning in once again. As you could tell, I'm a little under the weather and we have a lot of parts to change. We have more maintenance. It's time to do timing chains. They're not due, but we have an oil leak in the front cover. So if I'm taking off this front cover, behind it is a timing chain. I'm gonna do the timing chains while I'm there. This job is pretty intense, but we're gonna give you some techniques to help you get through this. Let's knock it out. Well guys, before I get into this timing chain job, I want to show you the before data. Right here, as you see, this is our chain stretch. I personally am going to go off of the most negative number. This is timing deviation. The upper ones are the phase positions. So realistically, I'm at a negative 1.8, but I want to go off the biggest negative number. So I'm going to say it's a negative 4.18. Now I can show you when we replace the chain, do everything right, did it go closer to zero? Let's find out. All right guys, first step, we're gonna remove the underbelly shield we're gonna be removing these coolant hoses and we need something to catch it. We don't wanna have it on the pan and then land on you once you take it off. So next thing we're gonna do, remove the passenger side rim and we're gonna remove the inner fender liner. Yeah. And there's a couple under here. Got a 10 mil right here, and then we got these ones right here. So for these ones, just gonna push this in. I'm gonna go slowly because I don't want to lose these. Honestly, they pop out and you kind of lose them. Yeah, push it in a little bit. All right, time to remove the inner fender liner. There's one T25 down there. Right here, and there's a tab kind of holding that little flat blade. Yeah. So the main reason why we're actually doing the timing job is because of this oil leak. You see right here, all this oil condensation. It's coming from right behind here is where the seal is. If I'm gonna pop this cover off, I mean, you see the timing chain, you might as well do it. So there we go. There's the oil leak. You guys can see what's going on here. What I'm gonna do actually while I'm down here, you need to clean these bolts so you make sure you get on very well. If you strip them, you're gonna have a very bad day. They're T30s, so I'm gonna spray some brake clean and clean it up. While I'm down here, I'm actually gonna remove the serpentine belt and I'm gonna mark the orientation so it doesn't squeak. Next up, take a 16 mil socket, righty-tighty. That'll loosen that. And you're gonna pull it right off here if you can. So the hardest part of this job is this part right here. Popping this engine cover off. There you go. Hardest thing is done. Job should be easy from here on out. Now we need to remove this purge valve line. And we need to remove this coolant hose, and then also we need to remove this fuel hose. Realistically, we probably could move the fuel hose off to the side, but might as well have enough room and see everything clearly here. I'm going to go ahead and start removing some coolant hoses. Of course, we're always going to spray fuel, so it's going to smell. Relieve the pressure in the coolant bottle. Obviously have something down below to catch that stuff. It's right here for a second. I'm gonna remove the coolant bottle. It needs to come out of the way anyways. Get a flathead, go underneath it. Disconnect it from right here. Just squeeze it, comes right out. Now we have a pretty clear shot of the engine here. Next up, we need to remove this engine mount. So I'm gonna mark it and we're gonna put an engine stand up here to hold it up. It's gonna mark the orientation. Now we're gonna go ahead and get an engine stand because we gotta support the engine while we do the rest of this work. So we got an 18 mil socket. I'm gonna back these off just a little bit because I wanna see if there's resistance on the engine. Like if you watch my other videos, we wanna make sure that these bolts come out freely when without resistance. That means the engine is weighing down on the bolts and we need to lift the engine up more. So loosen it up, tighten it back up. I saw it drop a little bit, so let's lift it up just a smidge more. All right, I'm gonna back it off. And see this one? Oh my gosh, that moved. These are stretch bolts, so one use only. So we have a 15 mil socket right here. And we got a 13 right up top. Our beautiful CTS mount, recently installed, still sturdy. I just want to let you guys know, I've never done a timing chain on a transverse engine. It's not my go-to thing. I'm usually messing with longitudinal, so I've never had to really mess with this stuff, but it looks like I need to lift the engine up to get to this one, this bolt holding this mount right here. So you can get a clear hit on this. Yep, it looks like I can get it right just a little bit more. All right, so I have a ZN12 on a 1/4 inch ratchet with extension. Bolt's pretty torqued down for a 1/4 inch ratchet, but we're gonna see if it can do it, so. There we go, it's one of them. Again, guys, these are a ZN12. I would personally probably get this bolt from below, but we're trying to show you where the bolts are so you guys can see it. But you can get it from up top, as I'm doing so right now. There we go. Do not want to get your wrench stuck in that. Ask me how many times I've done it. 0, because I've never done time chain on a transverse engine. But I've gotten my wrench stuck for sure. All right, here's the next one. And we have one more down here. You guys can't probably see that. I'm gonna try to get it from right up here, why not? This is definitely a bolt you wanna get down from below, but I wanna do it up here so you guys can actually see it. It is possible to do from up top though. Very tight angle, gosh dang. It's just not a good way to get on that bolt. Hey. That is a win. All right, you guys saw here first. I just got that from up top. We need to go ahead and remove the oil dipstick tube. Oil dipstick tube. Oil dipstick tube. There we go, up to this side. It's got T30 right here. Definitely feels like someone cross-threaded that. That are put in with rust or red lock or blue Loctite. It's pretty tight. So I believe, I've never seen this, to be honest, on longitudinal engines. It's just a T30. But this looks like you squeeze this and pull out. Yes, good win. Now, we're gonna pull this out, but we're also gonna put a paper towel back down there. Go ahead and pop the oil dipstick tube out. There we go. So stick this inside the hole. Don't want anything falling inside of it. All right, now that that's done, let's start taking off the cover here. All right, time to remove the connectors to the cam phasers. Some of you have one, some of you have two. The 1.8Ts, I think, have one, and A3s have two, 2.0 liters. Now I gotta remove this little clip. All right, so you got 10 mils, or you could do T30s. Try with a 10 mil, sounds better. Good stuff. Now let's move these T30s. I don't know if these are the same, so if they're not, I'm gonna put a little I for intake. Again, guys, making sure you're clean with this whole job. Go ahead and pop these off here. I have new seals for these, so I'm not too worried about destroying the seal. All right, so you can push in here and it should push very easily. Touch that center, moves in and out freely. These are working very good. All right guys, we're gonna get this to TDC here. To make it a little easier when I spin it over, I'm gonna remove all the coil packs and spark plugs. It's a 10mm socket. Go ahead and unplug the coil packs. Go ahead and break the spark plugs free. As you guys see, I've installed a flathead or something long enough to get into the cylinder, because we're going to crank the engine manually by hand, and we're going to see if we're at top dead center with the flathead, which means what is top dead center? It means the piston's all the way at the top, and we need to be on cylinder 1. There is a timing mark on the harmonic balancer down there, which I'll show you in just a second how to get it to TDC. I'm going to go ahead and remove this cover and watch the chains move. There we go. So there's a notch on both sides of this harmonic balancer right here. I'm touching with the pick, boom, one, this one over here. There's a triangle right down here. It's gonna be very hard to see in this video. I'm gonna show you on the cover once we pull away from this part. So what I'm doing is getting this groove lined up with this triangle while I'm cranking this flathead better be all the way at the top. I'm gonna show you an example. We're slowly gonna go up, you're gonna watch it move. I'm not going to touch it actually. You see it's going up? All right, let's pan down here and I'm going to line up the triangle. So here's the triangle now. You guys can see it from this angle. And we have these notches right here, and I'm going to slowly bring it into time, making sure that the flathead is moving up and not down. All right, here we go. Go really slow. And right there. It's perfect with the triangle. Go ahead and pull your wrench off. And now we're going to use a specialty tool to hold it in place. Now you guys can see we're underneath the car. We're about to remove this bolt. You're going to need this specialty tool to get into these 4 holes. As you can see. Now I marked the timing mark for you on this and right here. Got to keep those lined up. I mean, we're going to loosen this and it's probably going to move this, so we'll probably crank it over again. But I want to show you how to at least line it up. What you're going to do, see the 4 holes, get that in there. Next up, you got a 24mm righty tighty lefty loosey. This bolt is extremely tight, so it's not going to be easy. Holding this specialty tool in there. All right, here we go. And we just need to back it off just a smidge. Now that that is done, our timing mark is still pretty spot on here. I use a specialty tool that connects here and it'll hold this crank, etc. You're gonna see it here in a second. A lot of people don't use this tool. They'll back this bolt out and they'll put a little plastic piece and remove this to hold the snout, you would say, in the front, holding it to it. I'm gonna tell you guys, this is how I do it. You want a very good T30, because you do not want to slip off on this. And then I got a T30 up here. These bolts are one use only. Go ahead and throw them away. All right, here's the specialty tool I use. See how it holds the crank right up against it. Not the crank, but harmonic balancer, sorry. So guys, I want this on there pretty good. Because this will hold the crank from moving, actually. All right, it's pretty good. So next up, that tightened down, your 24 mil. Backing it off, make sure my crank's not turning, which it's not. Perfect, bolts out, one use only. Now, this specialty tool right here. So what they want us to do, screw that in there. Down the bottom, and now we gotta tighten this end piece right here. So I'm just gonna snug this. They said nothing too crazy here. All right, it's good. So what you guys have here, specialty tool to get on this little cam adjuster. These are reverse thread, so we're gonna go righty-tighty, which is actually gonna loosen it up. While you're doing that, it's probably best to have this tool on it because it could spin the crank, so. This could slip off, be very careful. And it's got a boatload of torque sometimes. That one wasn't too bad, so. I like that, I'll work with that. Spin it out with your finger. Here it is, guys. While you're pulling it apart, you're inspecting to see if you see any shavings in those filter. This is the intake side, don't mix it up. Still reverse thread, get on there very well. Oh, you see I'm trying to move the crank. Oh, there we go. I honestly hate these. They told me, wait until you get to this point where we tighten it up, the torque spec is just outrageous, and I've never been able to hit torque. Good stuff, nothing in the filters, clean. Go ahead and take this off. Next up, we're gonna pull some oil out of it. You could suck all of it out. You could have done that before this, but yeah, I didn't do such a thing, so here we are. We're gonna go ahead and stick it in the hole for the oil dipstick and suck it out. Now we're gonna back off the specialty tool. You guys know there's an indentation right there. That'll need to match up right there. Now that that's off, you're gonna stick this tool on there. There, grab this little piece. Cool, so this will let us turn the crank if we need to. And now we're gonna start taking off these T30s, but we need to unclip this oil sensor and get it out of the way. That's good right there. I need to start breaking these T30s. There is a special sequence of how to actually remove all T30s. If you remove your cover, I never recommend to reuse your cover, just due to the seal possibly going bad. Also the way you kind of like pull it off, it's really hard and you can easily just break it or will damage the mating surface of it. So. So let's drop the car down. That last bit of these T30s here. If you cannot get the T30 in there really well, you better get a pick, just clean it out and blow it out with a gun. I'm just double checking to make sure there's nothing in that. I didn't feel like it made a good contact. And there we go. Alrighty. We have all the bolts out of it. It's time to take this cover off. You would not want to do what exactly I'm doing because you'd probably be trying to use your cover, but I will, again, highly recommend you never use the cover again, just because you'll have to get back in there. This is not easy to get off. Oh, they
got some very intense glue on this thing. It's not, this is from factory. Like, you see the glue we're gonna put on later. It dries really quickly and it seals very well. All right, we're gonna go ahead and remove these bolts. This is a T30. I'm gonna clean that oil off real quick before I pull it. This should be all the bolts. All right, just gonna wiggle this thing off. Sometimes you might need to use a flathead, which it seems like I will have to. Let's go right behind here. Let's give it a little love. Not extreme pressure. Literally, it's almost falling off by itself. It just needs a little bit of motivation. There we go. Cool. So when I pulled that off, guys, you need to inspect right here on the shaft. If there's grooves and it's deep, you really should replace your cam bridge. Other than that, mine, I don't know, to judge it, I'm gonna use a pick and see if I get caught on it. You can tell if your pick hangs up on something. I will say, I mean, this is still a little more grooved than I'd like. I can feel it. I mean, my cam bridge, you see that wear in there? You can tell this one is this, and you can see I don't really like it, to be honest. I might replace it. All right, guys, to go over the next steps we're about to do, I bet you didn't buy the specialty tool that goes in here and pushes that. We'll get into that in just a second here. The biggest thing is I really need to get this thing at TDC. It's already at TDC, but I just want to make a line on the crank down there, push this back as soon as we take the tensioner off. And we're going to clean up the mating surface, install the new chains, and get this thing going. I'm going over this though. This is the updated timing chain guides. So this was recently done. I don't know how recent because the timing cover was dirty, etc., etc. You could tell because when these chains fail, this used to be really short. It used to be that long. Now when they fail, or the tensioner fails, this thing can still ride on the guides to keep it in time. That's how you know if you have an updated timing chain or if your stuff's out of date. 2, the tensioner down here. All right, so this is the new updated timing chain tensioner, you know, because you have these springs, squeeze it. The old style used to have this pick and you had to push it a certain way and it would go in. So this is the updated tensioner, which is really why I did this whole job. I was just worried that I didn't know if it had an updated tensioner or not. In the service history, it didn't say anything about this. They were just in it. Maybe this was aftermarket, or not aftermarket, but maybe an aftermarket shop did this because I did not see it in the service history with Audi. Other than that, let's start cleaning up. Let's get the other chains on here and go from there. All right, guys, it's time to remove the oil pump chain. How are we gonna do that? So we got this, okay, what's the dealio here? Usually you could get her, I don't know how that's even a thing right now. All right, you saw what I just did. Okay, so that holds it. See, now it's nice and loose. We're gonna take that T30 off right now. Go. Just like that, guys. Get that out of the way. Keep it clean. So guys, I don't understand the specialty tool sometimes because it's supposed to, you can't take that chain off unless you remove this. So I have to remove this. Pop that off. So guys, it's not like the old school triple, was it EA888? The Gen 3s, apparently you can't get the oil pump chain off, which in the old school, I definitely remember you could. So either way, the next step is we gotta push this in. There's a tool you can use to push this in. I don't have that tool, weirdly enough. So I'm gonna squeeze in and I'm gonna hold that right there to release that. So, and you're gonna want this right here to lock it in. That's right, boys. You can do that with your hand. Doesn't look too well. Doesn't look like it's on the all the way. So either way, I don't care. I'm gonna pop these T30s off before this thing falls off. All right, guys, T30 right here. Can you see that? We know the angles suck, but you guys know what's going down right now. There's that. Get that out of the way. All right, let's get up top because we gotta lock the cams in. All right, guys, you see these notches? These are kind of guidelines. I'm gonna make a notch here just to kind of be close to where I need to be. When you put the chain on, it'll put everything in time for you. So it's not like a timing belt where it'd be a little off. So I'm just gonna put a notch here. You do a little paint if you wanted, but I just like going like that because I'm gonna help the next tech who's in here. Good stuff. All right, next we have these bad boys. So these lock in the cam shafts. So what we're gonna do here, let's turn this in. All right, guys, so there is a specialty tool that goes in this slot, so it makes it a lot easier to spin, but I don't have it, and the Audi dealership wouldn't actually give it to me. So I have this oil filter removal tool, get it from any auto parts store. We're gonna turn this clockwise. In the instructions says only turn it clockwise, and then I'm gonna push this in. I just see I can't at the moment. So I'm gonna grab on this little notch here, grab right here, and slip off real quick. All right, see there? And there we go. Just like that. It did move my notch. Don't worry about that. The chain will align all this for us. So let's get our next one in right here. Note, I have the old style, but it is the right part number. I had to grind this down to actually fit in between this chain. So. All right, so you guys know there's a lot of slack right here. I'm actually gonna go back with this one because I need the slack over here. It doesn't really matter too much because, like I said, the timing chain tool will put it in time for us. There we go. You guys see I have no slack here, right? So that's perfect. That's where I want it. It actually matches up with my notch, which is cool. And now, look at all that slack I have. So now I can move this forward to get it in the right position here. All right, so this lock is 1000% gonna hit this chain. In the instructions, I mean, this must be a different tool, but it is the right part number. I have to remove this guide before I can do anything. So let me do that quick. And I'm gonna remove this guide. So we have ZN10 triple square. There's just one bolt holding this tensioner here. Oh, she's got some torque. So now you're just gonna slide this guide right down here. You guys can't see it, but look, see? There we go, we have that off, and now we can mess with this. Quite a bit of slack, but at least we have to take the slack off this. So if you guys saw, all right, with a flat head, stick it in here. This is how they say, there you go, just slowly wiggle it back and forth. There we go, that guide's off. And now let's get this off. All right, so we have two bolts. There's Z10s, one there, and we're gonna remove this guide now. There we go, ZN8 or ZN10 down here as well. Just gonna slide this right through the bottom here. So at this moment, before you lift the car up, they do want you to take the chains off. They want you to rest the chains right here. All right, go ahead and lift the car up. All right, we got 27mm sockets, and we're gonna take off this tensioner. You can sneak back here. There we go. Once it's loose, you can pretty much do the rest by finger here. Take that in a clean position. All right, so now we're gonna remove all these ZN10s. Grab this last guide out of here. Now that the guides are removed, loosen this tool up because we're gonna pop this shaft off because that's the only way you can get the oil pump chain off. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the whole tool because this is just gonna pop right off. All right, don't let this fall. Get this chain off here. There we go. So you guys can see that mark right there? See how it has a flat spot? That's gonna line up. It's perfectly vertical. See these flat, straight lines? Can you see here? Let me get something. See that? We want this line, and this is gonna be vertical right here. That means we're at TDC. Now, let's go ahead and get our chains off, and we're gonna install our new chains. So honestly, well, I gotta go up top and pop them off. We're gonna remove this chain, and you're gonna remove this chain. Just gonna get that out of the way. Stick that off this side. All right, now we're up here, guys. Let's get rid of this chain. There we go. Chain's out. So guys, when I'm getting in the car, or when I'm under the car, it's really hard for you guys to see what's going on. So these marks are already lined up because you have your balance shaft already in, so kind of ignore that. But we need to focus on here. You see these two links that are painted? So next in line is this one and this one. You obviously see the mark, and there's gonna be a mark right there. Let's go do that, and then once we get these lined up on the sprockets, we're gonna install this guide number 1. Let's go over there and do it. So you guys know, there's the two painted marks. We're gonna ignore those and move to the next one here. All right, so you see that mark right there? I need to go back here, right. Here we go. My painting is on that mark. Let's go over here. You see that mark right there? Line it up with that. And now we're gonna install this guide right here. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna lay that right there. Grab my bolt, clean it off because I dropped it. When you got oil on your fingers, it's pretty hard to turn this bolt, to be honest. All right, I'm just gonna torque these down because I have them, so why not? 20 Newton meters is the spec though. There we go, cool. You guys see this arrow? So we're gonna follow this up right here. Draw this over here. Flip the chain because I can't even see it myself. Yes, perfect. So now I can see on the front of this what is directly up. All right, now we're gonna go over here. See this flat. I don't know how one would draw on this, to be honest. Like, how would you know? But they say, you know, it's perfectly flat, so you're gonna kind of get it in the middle. So I guess I'm gonna just shoot right here, see what happens. As long as it's around there, I know that I'm on this mark. All right, now it is time to get this on here. Let's see how far my mark is off. You shouldn't put this on just yet, but I'm just checking the mark. You see, it's actually dead on, pretty good. Go over here, doesn't feel right, it wants to go right there. But before you put this on, you need to put this oil chain on. Actually, we need to get this chain over this. So get that over there. Good stuff. Now, back to the oil chain. Do not forget that oil chain. You're gonna have a bad day. Down there. Oil chain does not need a direction, so it doesn't matter. If you guys can see, my mark is aligned up here. My oil chain's on. This is behind this. We're pretty much set to now center this. So let's go while you're holding this. Can't go anywhere else. Let's put our specialty tool on. Grab this bad bitty. All right, it's on there. Do not turn this. Make sure it's all the way off. All right, next, put this tool on there. Now that's on there. Let's get the gas on that. I'll put that on there. All right.
Beautiful. Next thing you tell me is I want to grab an open wrench 32 and I want to wiggle this back and forth while trying to tighten this. So we're going to do that in just a second. So like I said, guys, or you could use a 1 1/4. You're going to wiggle it back and forth while trying to tighten this castle nut. I am moving the crank a little bit, but we have that mark to kind of line up. This is what they told me to do, so I'm just following instructions. That's tight. There's no more. Oh, I can't. All right, now let's tighten this bad bitty up. That is going to secure this snout on there, because if it's not aligned, guys, you're going to have a bad day, and you'll notice it when we put the harmonic bouncer on. But this is the most detrimental point other than getting the timing on. This is the hardest part. Getting this on, making sure it's on there, it's not rocking back and forth. And now let's set the time. Time to install the bounce shaft guides. So you guys can see what I'm actually doing here. All right, the torque spec is 20 Newton meters still. Good, all righty. The bounce shaft, let's make sure it's still in time here. That mark aligns. That mark aligns. Here, put the camera down. Perfect. There you go. See that mark aligns? That mark aligns. Let's go down here. The crank. That mark will align as soon as we put the tensioner on. All right, let's get this tensioner in here. We're gonna not tighten that all the way. The instructions didn't really say to do that. I'm just doing it so it holds the chain right there, but it is putting tension on the crank. Back it up just a smidge here. I just didn't want the chain to fall off. So I'm just using this to hold it there. There we go. All right guys, this next step is kind of difficult because you need to get this chain on this, right? While getting up there sorted as well. So just note when I'm referring to the mark, it's this mark right here. For example, this is how this is gonna go. See that? There you go, perfect. See that right there? That's how it's gonna go. So let's get up top and we gotta put the chain on up there. While you're trying to put the chain on, you kinda wanna get that lined up as well. So 2 things at one time. Humanly impossible, but we gotta do it. All right guys, so I'm gonna start with this one right here. Just putting that right there. I know this is not going to go on, but I want to focus on the one down below real quick. Like I said, referred to earlier in the video, go down below, make sure that's on. And what you're going to do when you know it's on, you're going to take the slack out of this and then focus on getting this on. But we don't want to do that just yet. All right, guys, I have these 2 on. Let's go down below. Let's see if it's on. So these are on. You see it's on the mark. It's on the mark. You can see how much slack I have. So you guys are in the same slack boat as me. There's a lot of slack on this side. There needs to be, honestly. You really want all the slack on here, but you want a little over here. Let's go down below. I'm gonna raise this car up so I can show you it's on the mark. All right, so guys, we're gonna tighten this up right now. And this is gonna be 85 Newton meters. There we go. 85 Newton meters, that's set in position. Check our marks. On, and we're on. Good stuff. Timing chain's on here. It's time to go up top. Let's put some guides in. All right guys, I'm doing this for a second time, putting this guide back in because when I went to put this guide in, my chain slipped off and now I was out of time. So you see I have this holding this so it does not fall off while I install the guide. Putting a lot of tension on the guide, I don't like that. I come from the front of it here. There's a lot of tension on it, guys. I don't like that. To get me some slack, I'm gonna turn the crank back. Not the funnest thing to do, but I'm going to do it because I have to. I need to get some slack coming in here. So I'm turning it back here. Keeping the chain in time. Should never turn the engine backwards, but I'm doing it. All right, holding the tension on the chain here. There we go.
you guys can see, I had to do that. There's a lot of tension for me to try to get this in. You can see I was scraping it right there. All right, cool. Now those are on. Let's check down below, make sure your timing mark is still on. So the next guide they want us to install is this one. All right, as far as that one goes, now I'm gonna tighten up, I'm gonna torque the guide. It's 20 Newton meters as well. As you guys recall, I turned the chain, so now I'm gonna turn it forward so I can give me a lot of slack over here. Holding tension on the chain. See, I can't go anymore. Right there's it. I'm trying to get the wrench up, there we go. Let me retighten this. Now let's get this other guide on. So you guys can see here, this is the orientation. I'm going to probably have to remove this, but I'm gonna hold the tension on with my finger. To be honest, if I recall, this is going to take, in the service manual, they say it's gonna take 2 people. Because realistically, this tool has to come off. I cannot get this guide on with this tool. What I'm going to do, I'm gonna have you slide that tool off, my love. So that wants to come back, leave that right there. Holding tension with your finger, don't lose tension, guys. Holding tension. I really don't want to lose tension on this, so I'm gonna try to stick this on there. You really don't have to do this, guys. I just don't want to let tension off because that chains fall off. It's not gonna happen today. All right, 20 Newton meters on this one. Nice and tight. I'm just gonna check the other ones while we're at it. Good. All right, we need to install the tensioner now, which we're gonna clean the mating surface just a smidge here. So let's get the tensioner on. You need brand new bolts, guys, when doing this one. I mean, a lot of other bolts too, but just big time on this one. All right, torque spec is 4 Newton meters plus a 90-degree turn. There we go. Now it's time to get our 90 degree. The best way to ensure that you did your 90 degree is to mark the bolts straight up. There we go. Can't see the bottom one. Feels pretty good right there. These are aluminum bolts, guys, so make sure you're on them. As you see, I'm like falling everywhere on that one. I'm just gonna get a little bit more into that. There we go. You can really feel it that it doesn't really want to go anymore. So, all right, guys, it's time to remove this tool. So let me get a good angle on this thing. I hate to use the chain. Let's not do that. It's gonna be hard not to get. We're gonna have to use the chain. I don't want to. Huh. She's not moving. So we might have to get a little slack. Yeah, we're tight there. We're tight there. So let's turn the crank a little bit. I'm gonna go back just a smidge, hate to do so. There you go. Got a little slack on that, just a little. I'm going to turn it clockwise to put the tension back on the chain. Let's remove these. Don't need them anymore. So now that everything is in time, let's go over everything. We have the 2 marks in time up here. All right, let's raise the car and check down below. So you guys can see, lined up, this, lined up. Looking for this mark right here to be lined up with that dark chain mark.
Everything is now lined up. This is where we're gonna install the oil pump tensioner. Torque spec is 9 Newton meters. So that's done. Oop, it's supposed to go right back here. There you go. All right, there we go. All right guys, we're about to install the control valve system. I'm gonna pour some oil right on this thing. Make a mess, definitely. Clean hands, of course. We're going around it. Make sure we got good oil lubrication. We're also going to stick some oil in the inside of this right here. So lube that up. Let's go stick this on. You do not want to force this thing on. Real gentle with it. Go ahead and install these bolts, but we're not going to tighten down just yet. All right, so this is the sequence, but we're not tightening them down. We're just getting a little close. Goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, I'm not torquing them, but I do want to make sure that they are kind of close to where they should be. As you can see, it's pulling in, so it's not all the way tight here. So I'm just going to go back and forth here. I don't feel too much pressure on it, as if I'm forcing it on there. Just gonna give it to 4 Newton meters right now. Now that I tightened them, I'm gonna back them off. It says hand tighten. I just wanna make sure that the bearing bracket was actually all the way pushed in, because we're gonna crank this engine now. Like they state, hand tighten. All right, now it is time to relieve the tensioner. Go ahead and pull the pin. Oh, there we go. And now we're going to crank the engine to full revolutions. At this moment, I have a mark on the bottom of the crank, so that's how I know that I'm actually on time. Also, I have the marks up here. So I'm gonna raise the car, crank it over with the tool on there. It's gonna take a while to get 2 revolutions, but hey, whatever. Your timing marks or your timing chain marks are never gonna line up, just a heads up. So there's 1 revolution. So how do you know you're coming up on the revolution? You have your flathead screwdriver in cylinder number 1 here. It is coming up. And also you can tell because see that notch? The notch is coming up right now too. Should be very close. I'm gonna check down below real quick. All right guys, we are back to TDC. Everything's looking really good. Just go over to make sure your guides are tightened. Again, all the bolts for the guides are 20 Newton meters. It's just really it there. So it's time to start putting the cover back on. They want us to install the control valve. This is gonna be 4 Newton meters. I can see why they wanted us to have them hand tighten and then spin the engine because it kind of seated itself. Go over them one more time here, 4 Newton meters. All right, now we have a 90-degree turn. So again, the trick is mark them straight up. Let's do a 90. Starting here. You feel they're aluminum bolts, guys, so you can easily just break these. Pretty good. I'm just gonna feel the torque on them. Time to install the control valve. Going to oil that baby up. This is my intake side. They are opposite hand thread, so righty tighty, lefty loosey, and I got it stuck.
torque spec is 35 Newton meters. So guys, the chances of you sliding off this while you try to torque this, highly possible. I've had it happen too many times, or so many times, and if it does happen, I mean, I just leave right there. That's what the torque should be. It was reverse hand thread here. So tell me, do you know, does a torque wrench work in reverse? About to find out. Holy smokes, guys, I hit the torque for the first time in my life. But I'm using this engine stand to push it on. Usually doesn't go like that. So, knock on wood for me. Torque wrenches work in reverse too. Whoever knew? All right, here we go. Oh, good stuff. Let's go ahead and remove these seals. Easy with it, don't scratch the surface. All right, guys, tech tip to know if this is working properly, push in and out. Should go very smoothly. There's no hangups, we're good. All right, guys, at this moment, you really need to clean this thoroughly, meaning what is thorough? Well, let me show you. When you pull it off, you barely want to see any grit or dirt coming off it. So watch my second stroke, pretty clean other than me hitting the dirt on the sides here. But yeah, just really want to make sure there's no oil, no contamination, because you don't want to do this cover again. This is why I did this whole job, over this cover leaking oil. All right, guys, here's the torque pattern. It's kind of hard to explain this, but this is what we're gonna do. All right, guys, you ready? 3mm opening right here. Not to get technical, but hey, you're gonna want to do this quick. This stuff dries pretty quick here, so. Shaking like a motherfucker out here. Jeez. All right, guys, time to torque it to 8 Newton meters here. One above the dowel. All right, guys, I'm gonna mark all these facing up here. All right, so 1, 2, 4, 5 are gonna need a, so 1, get on there really good. Oh, so I'm saying, guys, got to stay on these, but it's not the easiest to do so, especially depending on the angle. So pretty much the rest, you're skipping this one. You're skipping this one for the tool we're about to use here. I'm gonna back this one out and back that one out because we need to get our snout back on. So I'm marking the triangle because you barely see that thing. All right, since it's hand tightened, go ahead and pop this off. Torque it as hard as you can until it moves the crank. I mean, we're gonna get the proper torque, but just tighten up right now is the biggest point here. You're gonna know if this is off because this harmonic bouncer will be tilted and stuff, so. And now we need to torque these bolts down. Oh, she's on. All right, to 8 Newton meters. So guys, we have 150 Newton meters plus a 90-degree turn. Have fun with that. All right, there's our 150, and now we need a 90. Hold on, guys. There we go. All right. All right, guys, I'm gonna crank it around 2 revolutions here. All right, it's dead on. Leave that there. All right, let's go up top. We're gonna do some measurements. And you might as well plug in your oil sensor. All right, guys, what they say in the manual is to crank this thing over, and you'll have probably a tool that will, you know, when it's going up and it stops, that's TDC. I'm just gonna use the mark there because I don't have the tool, but I did watch this and see if it's at its peak top. So next up, oh, we'd have to remove this, but so you'd have to go like this. Let's see if I can get a measurement on this. Go from here. And they want you on the outside corner. We got 75.82. So guys, the spec was 74 to 77. We're at 75.82, which is perfect. Now we need to measure from here, this cam to this cam. So then again, it's gonna be a little, you know, give and take, but as long as you're in the middle, I mean, that's key. So tighten that up. What's the spec from there to there? We're at 124. I'm not too worried there because realistically, look at this mark. And you see my dot right there? That's where I marked it. So that was my before. So if I was off, look at that. Lines up pretty well there. So guys, you can see. Timing is on. So I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna start putting everything back together here. So here we go. All right, guys, I just like to honestly put some oil on the chain here. Do you don't have to. The oil is gonna get drained out the bottom here. I just like to get oil on the chain itself. There we go. All right, now we're gonna install the O-rings here. Before we put the cover on, we obviously need to change the gasket, clean it up. Old gasket, throw it away. Also get rid of these bolts as well. The bolts have gaskets, so that's why I'm replacing those quick. Actually, I'm gonna replace these gaskets as well here. pretty good. Time to torque them down. All right, torque spec is 9 Newton meters in this orientation. Good stuff. All right, guys, let's clean this out real quick here. Nine Newton meters. That's the torque spec. All right, time to put the motor mounts back on. Well, actually, you might as well put the serpentine belt on first here. All right, guys, you see the direction. Obviously, looks like a 12-year-old. Sure, this is probably a 2-year-old, actually. Either way, stick it down in that crank right there. $16mm socket. We're gonna go clockwise. Good stuff. Just make sure it's on the ribs like it should be. All right, that's done. Let's get that oil dipstick back in there. Torque spec is Guten type. Just harness back over this. There, clip it in where it should be, factory. If you're good with the fingers, then you're gonna be able to get this one. I know a lot of you not, because you don't practice enough. All right, the torque spec is 7 Newton meters, I believe 40 Newton meters, and then we have a 90-degree turn. Starting out with this one. All right, and then 40 Newton meters. All right, then we need a 90-degree turn here. Guys, we are getting close. Can you feel it or what? All right, this is where we definitely got to drop the engine down a lot. So go ahead and lower it to where the mount kind of sits by itself, nice and flush. Definitely gonna have to do some maneuvering to the engine as far as pushing it. All right, let it fall into place now. Almost there. There we go, I think that's right there. Look at that. And we gotta get this mark line up. And put some tension on it, and then we'll go from there. Just hold it down, I'll torque it down here shortly. Just get particular with it. Don't have to get this crazy, but I am crazy, so. Beautiful. Would you just look at it? It's almost like it never moved. All right, guys. It's got 40 Newton meters plus a 90. All right, torque spec is 60 plus a 90-degree turn. All right, it's 40 Newton meters plus a 90-degree turn. All right, guys, install the coolant bottle. You're almost done. Can you see the ending near? Oh, look at that. Thing's trying to do its thing down here. Blow itself out. Last 10 seconds of the game here. Come on, car. Especially on the serpentine belt. Come on, guys. Coolant's on the serpentine belt. Try to get it back where you had it once before. It's the Audi way, right? Okay, I didn't even touch this stuff. Just look at it. All right, we got the coolant hose here. Put that baby back where it belongs. Let's get our spark plugs back in there. All right, guys, I want you to note, you see that one that's black, kind of black, not too dark, and then one of them is kind of white. So it's telling me I have an injector either spraying too much fuel, something's going on with that cylinder. I just wanted to show you guys this because when I go and put this back together and I'm gonna hit it on the dyno, I told you guys it's adding 14% of fuel. I don't know why. So look at this cylinder's going lean, that one's going rich. So I might be doing an injector job here shortly. But so you guys can see why I did this whole thing is that thing was leaking oil, and that possibly could be, you know, a lean rich situation, but we're gonna get more into it later on. I just wanted to show you guys in this video. Rich spark plugs in the middle because the rich were the outside plugs. I'm putting them in the middle. I'm gonna do some pulls and see how they look after that. Guys, during this repair, I'm going to be replacing the PCV. You don't have to do this, but I highly recommend it. It'll save you blowing out seals. Like I think I blew my front seal out due to this going bad. It's not actually bad, so I can't really call or blame it on this. And the way you diagnose is if you put your finger here and it has suction, it's bad. Or you undo your oil cap and there's no suction, it's bad. I'm gonna actually blow it real quick to get the dirt around it so it doesn't get in here. And then I'm gonna start unplugging this real quick. Undo this connector. Take this off, put on the new one, see the orientation. So first round, spray this, get this wet here. We don't want any debris inside the engine, so be careful here. I'm trying to keep everything out of this engine. There we go. All right, now that the dust is gone, be careful not to get this in here again, guys. Swipe away. All right, here we go. Put it back in here. Focusing on clipping this back in first, because we cool like that. Guys, torque spec is 9 Newton meters in this pattern. Plug the purge valve back in. All right, let's torque the spark plugs down, finish up this timing chain job. Spark plug torque, 30 Newton meters. Torque spec's 10 Newton meters if you care for it. Good stuff. All right, let's put some oil in this thing. Get ready to fire this thing up. That's right, guys. Use an OEM oil, aka Castrol. Used to be. I think they have a new vendor now, but. .2, I'm putting in 5.5, just in case I gotta suck some out. I don't care. I'd rather have too much at this moment. Let's get some coolant in it real quick. All right, guys, here's the final moments. They're waiting way too long for this. So let's just go over everything. Spark plugs are torqued. Ignition system set up. We got these plugged in. It's the only thing been plugged other than the oil pressure switch down there. Certainty belt's on. Everything's torqued properly. I'm gonna leave the coolant cap off so we can bleed some coolant out. There's gonna be an excessive crank, which I'm fine with. I wanna see if I can get some oil pressure before it actually starts up, because we disconnected this hose here. So don't be too nervous about the excessive crank. All right, guys, as an Audi tech, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm always nervous when I do these jobs. I actually rewatched the clips to make sure I torqued everything, which I did. Still very nervous because this is not an easy job, and if you do one thing wrong, it could be detrimental. So don't be nervous, but you're gonna be nervous. Let's crank this thing up, cross your fingers, bless the engine, say some prayers. Sounding like a normal VW engine. Honestly, nice and smooth. Let's go see if we got some oil leaks. Lift it up, watch this, let it heat up. Turn those fans on, let it sit for quite a bit. I'd give it 10 minutes of sitting. You shouldn't do that, but I'm going to. I always do, because I want to see if this thing is going to weep some oil out of the seals that we just installed. And in check, look at your harmonic balancer right now. If that thing's wiggling, kill this car. You do not have the crank on the correct orientation. Just so you know, those are the things. Looking for an oil leak, your harmonic balancer's shimming. It should not. It's not gonna be a really good sign. Yeah, we're gonna start bleeding out some coolant here. So here we go. All right, guys, inner fender liner. Let's go. I'm not gonna lie to you guys though. Hold on 1 second. Get this piece of, I don't know where the heck this thing goes. Like, if you guys find out, let me know, please. Because I think it goes right here. I don't know for sure. It's definitely a weird situation. You know, I hate fender liners and I hate belly shields. Literally the worst part on the whole car. Get everything about it, just trash. See that? Trash. This is the end of it. Like, you're doing your timing chains and you're like, oh, I did the hard part. You gotta put in these stupid plastics. Thank you, Audi. It doesn't even fit right. What the chit? I'm getting pissy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Baby, do you know what I mean? Look, I'm blocking the camera. They're gonna see me beat your ass. Okay, I can say, you guys watching this? And they're gonna say, no. If you guys are watching this, comment at this minute, and I'll straight up send you a free t-shirt. There we go, right there, that's proof. If you guys are watching this, free t-shirt, send me your address. Don't even care. Hey, don't be sharing this to your friends either.
Only if you watch the whole video.
Yes, and we know who you are. You're gonna really need this big hammer right here to do this job right here. Would you just look at it? That's why people don't put them back on. You're working on this car so much, you might as well just leave it off. Like, next week, it's coming in. You're gonna have to take it off because you're gonna have to look for oil leaks, you know? And at this moment, after I said that, knock on wood, because she'd be like that. Cleaned up the belly shield, make it look good. Fix that oil leak, hopefully. Let's put this back. They really need to watch this part, though. It's really important. Like, it's honestly one of the biggest things here. If they haven't caught it in all of our videos, they need to catch it here. They need to see it one more time. This is important stuff. Shice!
If you can't do this with your eyes closed, what are you doing?
I can't do it. I dropped a bubble. Where'd that go? There we go. Got it, boys. Not one bolt left. Not one. Show them right now. Hold on, let me put this away. This is a brand new bolt, okay? Look, they gave me an extra one, so that doesn't count. And this is for the tensioner. You guys know this bolt, too. So, no bolts up there. We're done. Let's get an outro for you guys. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. Put this bad bitty on. Done. You guys just knocked out your timing chain job, and I know that sucked because I don't like it. Well, other than that, guys, thank you for watching. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. You got questions? What bolts? You know, I think we're going to try to include as much as we can. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, stay BDT tuned. All right, we're done. Boom. We love you. MQB platform, you're the best out there, the fastest out there, and you don't chew Big Red again, f you. So, when you do a timing chain job, you get to get the chain, okay? I'm gonna go in the club, you don't wanna f with this. Look at that. My chain hangs low, and it does wobble to the flow. That was a pretty good one. All right, guys, seriously, take this home. This is a trophy. You don't get to do a lot of these, but I have enough of these, so I gotta throw them away. So, thank you guys for tuning in.